Greetings, I'm Dr. Batcha Montgomery. Thanks for joining us this evening. I want to share information about our FoodRx Healthy Lifestyle Series. The FoodRx Healthy Lifestyle Series is a comprehensive health and wellness coaching program designed to help you navigate your lifestyle towards optimal health. Do you want to reverse or control a chronic illness, or reduce or eliminate medications? You may want to avoid potential surgeries or medical procedures, or perhaps boost your immune system or improve your fitness level, or much more. The program starts with an intense 5-session, 4-week virtual coaching jumpstart phase, where you join a group of like-minded individuals dedicated to improving their health. You'll be provided a lot of support materials, including nutrition plans, recipes, supplement plans as needed, or fitness plans, and much more. You have full-year access to the support materials as well as our health and wellness team during and at the completion of the 4-week jumpstart period. To learn more about this program, connect on one of our links below or schedule a call with our team members. Let them know if you wish to speak to me directly, and they'll arrange a time for you. Optimal health is a lifelong journey. Let us help you navigate it to your most desired destination.
And stand, but when you stand, you lean to one side and you put more weight on one leg. A lot of folks don't realize that every single thing that you do day in or day out is contributing to your state of being at any given time. So,
and that gets into adjustment. Yeah,
a lot of our questions are intended to help us help patients become way more intentional about how they're living throughout each day.
And you're looking for the imbalances. No, that makes sense. I'll have to look into my mattress because that did catch my attention. No, seriously, these things make a difference. I mean, and I think I like what you're saying. Oh, one other question before I forget. I'm going to get into this in a minute, but I'm going to let you answer this question. Do you recommend a plant-based diet? Someone asked that. Do you find a plant-based diet helps the endocannabinoid system better than any other diet, keto or paleo or something else? Or is that?
Yeah, we actually rank the ketogenic diet at the top of the list in terms of how cannabinoid it is. And I'll let genetics explain why. Do I think that we all need to be on ketogenic diets 100% of the time? No. But there are reasons with respect to lifestyle or with respect to therapy or regimen that we would recommend a ketogenic diet. And you can even be plant-based keto. So a ketogenic diet doesn't mean you have to be consuming meat products or animal-based products. Yep. But it's about getting and exploiting those ketones to stimulate healing. And I'll kick it over to Dr. Janice in a second to say, though, that natural, whole food, plant-based or plant-centric diets, yes, by and large, is what we will recommend, with the caveat that we are typically striving to drive patients into ketosis to address autoimmune diseases of inflammation, cancer, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I think, and one of the reasons why we recommend a ketogenic diet, because the ketones, right? The ketones work on the greater endocannabinoid home at the nuclear membrane level and even at the mitochondrial level. We're talking about receptors that are utilizing the ketones, particularly in the patient with cancer. Cancer cells cannot metabolize ketones, so they self-destruct. And they're doing this via a receptor called a PPAR receptor, peroxisome proliferating activated receptor. That is a nuclear membrane receptor that's responsible for tumorigenesis, fatty metabolism, glucose metabolism, transcription of your genes. That receptor is responsible for that. So if you have cancer and you have these cells that are just reproducing crazily, the way to kill them, to convince them to go ahead and commit suicide, or what we call apoptosis, is to put them on a ketogenic diet. Now, this ketogenic diet also worked in patients with seizures disorders, or if I'm really trying to turn a disease process down, I'm going to recommend that ketogenic diet first if the patient can tolerate that. Now, with that being said, I do believe in plant-based medicines as long as patients understand there's essential things the body needs that you're going to have to take your supplements for. So not only do you need to look at the food you eat, but what are the supplements you're adding to your nutrition? Are you adding omega-3s that you may need? Are you adding magnesium that you may need? Are you adding something like turmeric to fight inflammation? Are you using a pre and probiotic to help keep your microbiome healthy? And that microbiome contributes to every other microbiome in the body, including the skin, right? Which is so important. So when we're talking about foods and diets, I tell patients, if I'm trying to correct the disease process, I'll start with the ketogenic diet. The Mediterranean diet is fine. If you want fish and you want to eat that way, that's fine. But it just depends on your disease process and what we're trying to correct, right? But if patients are, and I'm a vegan, that's great, as long as you are giving yourself the nutrition that you need in addition to that vegan. I've had lots of vegan patients who've had to come and get on some meat because they haven't taken the other supplements they needed to support that diet. So it's really, once again, to think about it holistically when you're putting a diet plan together for a patient.
Yeah. In our experience, we found that every patient, regardless of diet, needs some supplements because our food is not adequate in a lot of these micronutrients, and often there are unhealthy vegan diets, and that's why I don't label my diet as vegan. We go plant-based, and we actually use a low carbohydrate plant-based diet, but you can call it ketogenic, plant-based, etc. But yeah, we specialize the nutrients, density. Patients with neurological things tend to do well with a higher fat diet, but it can be a plant-based fat that doesn't have saturated fats and things like that. So no, that makes a lot of sense. Someone asked about drinking hemp oil. I don't know. I'm gonna throw that out there. What do you want to take that?
Oil or like hemp extract?
Yeah, they didn't specify.
Totally mucked up the lexicon by legalizing what we're calling hemp CBD, when we've legalized hemp cannabinoid products. Hemp seed oil has phytonutrients in it, principally omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids in what we could consider the perfect ratio. Those omega-6s and omega-3s are the building blocks of our endogenous cannabinoids, our major and minor endogenous cannabinoids. So yes, we recommend consuming hemp seed oil on a regular basis. I usually recommend like 3 tablespoons a day. Mom, I don't know if you recommend something different. So the answer to that question, if you're talking about hemp seed oil, is yes. Otherwise, if you need a hemp cannabinoid extract, yes, it depends on what the chemical profile of need is. But yeah, certainly. I mean, we work with patients who are in, hemp only markets, having to navigate the world of low THC cannabinoids, whether that's CBD, CBG, CBC, etc., as well as what we call compliant THC products, like our highly regulated, quote unquote, marijuana markets.
Gotcha, and I like to tell patients when I'm talking about hemp seed oil, I try to
possible.
It's really clear that there's no cannabinoids in hemp seed oil. You can buy that at probably your grocery store when you're buying hemp seed oil, but it has not only the polyunsaturated fatty acids at omega-3 and 6, but it also have essential amino acids and other nutrients that you need. That hemp seed oil is cardioprotective. It helps with controlling your cholesterol levels. So I'd rather see a patient take hemp seed oil versus those statins that have those side effects, right? Not that I'm giving medicine out there, folks. I'm not doing that.
No, we understand.
What I do tell them to do, Google hemp seed oil, flax seed oil, and fish oil, and see the differences. And then you'll understand why we recommend hemp seed oil over those other two.
I really wish, I don't know if I mentioned this with Dr. Montgomery in my session with you. I'm really frustrated with how much we waste in the hemp and cannabis markets. A lot of folks don't realize that the roots of cannabis are also nutrient dense. They contain terpenes too. Triterpenoids exist in the roots. There are no cannabinoids in the roots of these plants, and it's considered waste and it's thrown away in the regulated marketplaces. And that's really unfortunate because it's nutrition, it's food. The reason I stress that point is because the reality is that from root to seed, this plant is wholly medicinal. It's wholly nutritious. It is nutrition, and we can make use of the entire plant. When it comes to that stalk that has barely any, phytonutrient complexity at all, we can turn those things into paper or building materials, right? So in this one plant, I like to say two things. One, the endocannabinoid dome is this biopsychospiritual model of medicine. And on the other hand, we have a plant that has endless utility in addressing the socio-ecological and biopsychosocial disparities that are at the root of disease and poverty in our world. And so it's like mind-blowing that this plant has been wholly illegal for as long as it has, that the powers that be have stifled innovation and study and research around the innovations and the possibilities of cannabis to our own detriment. Could you imagine what state our world would be in had we just allowed research to continue and the use of this plant to continue? We might not be here, dealing with global warming like we are, dealing with, a lot of the animal agricultural issues that we're having. I mean, we took animal feed made from hemp out of our animals' food supply. Right, it's probably contributed to the sickness in our animals that are being, raised for food production, being sick and having to deal with that through antibiotics and steroids, et cetera. I mean, I think single-handedly ripping cannabis out of the U.S. pharmacopoeia and out of agriculture has contributed pretty heftily to the state of all of our health, and not just us, but even, the animals that we rely upon.
And I want to say one last thing.
Sure, go ahead.
COVID has revealed so much to us about what's wrong with our society, what's wrong with our food, what's wrong with, the way we deliver healthcare, right? COVID exposed so much, in particular, the Black community. If you look at pictures 50 years ago, you saw a different Black person as far as their physique than what we see today. And if you go in our communities and look at our stores and what's being sold to our people, it's terrible. There's no reason COVID has gone through and wiped us out, right? The disease processes has set us up for a COVID-like pandemic to wipe us out. And I think cannabis has let us look at something so differently to tell us, correct these problems, correct these issues, because this won't be the last pandemic. But cannabis has given us some insight. Fix your immune systems. Fix your immune systems. Fix your food systems. Fix your communities. Fix these things, and then a COVID-like thing will not wipe you out that way it did. It may happen to you, but it won't blow you off deck, right? That is what I think the power of this plant has done. It has revealed so much to us that we could have and should have done differently.
Yeah, it's funny because, Mom, you said this won't be the last pandemic. We are existing amidst many pandemics. It's just not all of our pandemics are contagions, right? I do tell people, oh no, the pandemics that we're dealing with right now, they are hereditary. Heart disease, right? Diabetes, cancer, etc. These things are affecting way more people than COVID has. And we fail to recognize that heart disease is a leading cause of death in our country and all around the world. And COVID has yet to eclipse the amount of people that heart disease kills every single year, which begs the question, why aren't we seeing like COVID pandemic-like efforts to eradicate heart disease? And the reason I say I put contagion in parentheses is that it is the behaviors and habits that families pass down, family member to family member, that friends adopt from one another when we, live in close proximity to one another. Oh no, heart disease, cancer, diabetes are absolutely a pandemic. They absolutely are, quote unquote, contagious. And we're not doing enough to reverse them. The reason people have done so poorly with COVID is because of these pandemics that were here first, that we're failing to address. And what's really alarming to me is that heart disease, diabetes, cancer, complications of high blood pressure are preventable. They're preventable. You don't have to live with these things that are setting us up for worse COVID outcomes. And what's really uncanny is that preclinical and clinical research around cannabis and the endocannabinoid system right now tell us how likely cannabis is as an appropriate therapeutic tool to address these leading causes of morbidity and mortality in our country. It is just wild. And then when we think about our Black community that, is affected by these leading causes of morbidity and mortality than everyone else, but then recognize they've been the most criminalized through cannabis prohibition and are now the last to consider cannabis as a medicine to treat these leading causes of diseases from which we're dying at alarming rates. It's like we're stuck in this weird vortex. We really got to wake ourselves up, shake it off of ourselves and start advocating for solutions like cannabis so that we can address this disparity that exists, in our communities. And I like to call attention to, I think I mentioned this in our earlier conversation, Healthy People 2010, Healthy People 2020, where, the US government's initiatives to close the minority health disparity gap, we haven't budged. They have not budged in over 20 years. We are not any closer to closing this gap than we were before. In many ways, the gap is widened. It's widened. And so, I really call out to our communities and all communities, really, regardless of race, ethnicity, cultural identity, et cetera, to begin to think and turn back to our original medicine, We wouldn't be here today, my mom and I, if we didn't think there was something fundamentally wrong with the Western conventional way of practicing medicine that we were trained in. Right?
Now that's beautiful. I just listening to you both, it's just an amazing breath of fresh air. I mean, you've turned me into just a bobblehead. I'm just sitting there the whole show, just nodding. But I love it. I love it. We're coming to an end, but I want to ask this one question. I was in a conference this weekend, actually. It was about growing natural food and the like. And someone mentioned there was some growers and they talked about how we can, work through disasters and growing your own food. And someone mentioned how hemp, cannabis, a hemp plant helps replenish the soil.
Yeah, it's a bioaccumulant.
You want to comment on that?
Yeah, no. Okay, sure. Yeah, hemp is cannabis. Just hemp is a bioaccumulant, so it can be used for phytoremediation, meaning that it can clean the soil. I believe cannabis was used in Chernobyl to remediate the soil from the oh my goodness.
Radioactive?
Some of the radioactivity. Because it sucks it up. It sequesters it. And what's interesting is that after sequestering it, you can turn it into a lot of these industrial products. And those industrial products will not exude any of that radiation, any of that toxicity. It's an amazing plant. So it can clean the soil, it accumulates toxins, etc., while replenishing the soil. It puts good nutrients back into the soil, which means that we can use it in crop rotations. We can use it to remediate soil so that we grow more nutritionally dense foods. A lot of American farmland has just been depleted of its nutrient density, and thereby, we are all suffering from nutrient deprivation, via the U.S. food supply. So why aren't we asking or demanding that we start to use hemp as a crop rotation, or in crop rotation? Why we're not using hemp right now to remediate soil that we can, repurpose to growing our foods.
Wow.
I mean, to me, that's one of the simplest uses. That's something that we can do right now. Right now, it doesn't require any infrastructure. We just need a supply.
If I have toxic soil, let's say, I go to my, land and it's toxic soil, maybe like chemicals, maybe there was a chemical plant nearby, etc. I grow hemp and it removes the toxins and replenishes the nutrients. I guess that's maybe one full crop season. The question is, the hemp plant that's grown and bioaccumulate and bioreplenish that soil, do I have to throw that away? Will that plant be harmful to me if I consume it in one form or another?
You consume it, yes. So the recommendation would be to process those things into industrial products.
Gotcha. So it won't harm you as an industrial product, paper or whatever the case may be, clothes. Okay, fascinating. That's I took a lot of notes here, guys. I tell you, as I said, you turned me into a bobblehead, but this has been very, very fascinating. And I want to invite our audience to, if you didn't see the first 2 episodes, go back and look and go search our cannabis series. This has just simply been amazing. How can our audience get in touch with you? Some people are maybe, I think you do digital telephone visits, right?
Yes. We have lots of Texans even fly out to Oregon to see us, but we do telemedicine, and I'll let Rachel give you the how to contact us.
Is there, Dr. Montgomery, you're able to put it in the chat? You could just throw a link in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna type it out. I'm gonna put it in the banner and also in the chat as well. Just give me, is it an email or a phone number?
No, it's AmericanCannabinoidClinics.com.
It's the American.
No, it's AmericanCannabinoidClinics.com. VACClinics.com also takes you to the same place.
Oh wait, no, you gave me the shorter one. Was that VAC?
No, yeah, that's why I don't usually say it. THE the.
Oh.
The AC Clinics, American Cannabinoid Clinics, ACC, VACClinics.com. I see a question about ag schools. Yeah, our HBCUs, they are a growing hit to the opportunities of cannabis research in ag and medicine. I would not be surprised if Prairie View A&M is one of those schools looking for opportunities there. Another link that you can share, Dr. Montgomery, 2 links are achmed.org. That's ACHEMED.org. That's the Association for Cannabis Health Equity and Medicine. We have 2 Texas doctors on our executive board, Doctors Ogadinma Obi and Dr. Angela Ledbetter. So if you visit ACHEMED.org and go to our About Us page, you'll see all the many wonderful faces of ACHEM leadership there. You'll see Dr. Oga and Dr. Angela, or Dr. Kaya Ledbetter as she goes in the cannabis industry there. And then the other website is Chem Alliance with a Y, CHEMALLYANCE.org. ACHEM and Chem Alliance are sibling organizations. Chem Alliance is the Cannabis Health Equity Movement's 501c3. It's an education organization. We have a project right now called the Global Campus. So the Chem Global Campus is a massive education and research initiative that Hemp is partnering with HBCUs to develop so that we can, work alongside our HBCUs and help them really actualize their own enterprises in this what's going to be a multi-trillion-dollar global industry, so that our schools are advancing opportunities for faculty and students and their surrounding communities, and creating economic opportunities for our communities as a means to create health equity for ourselves. So please visit all of those organizations and learn all about all the good things that we are doing. Yeah, follow us. You can ping us there. You can chat with us. I'm one of the people who get all the emails that come by way of ACHEM and Chem Alliance. So if you want to get involved in any of these initiatives too, just let us know.
Well, I'll certainly be in touch, and certainly my colleagues who weren't able to make it tonight will definitely be reaching out. And already spoke to Dr. Janice about getting on some of your grand rounds. This has been very, very helpful, very enlightening, and as always, it's a breath of fresh air to talk to both of you. I mean, we're just on such the same plane in terms of practicing, and again, it was very refreshing to understand that your approach to medicine, very similar to what we've evolved toward over the years, is the global look at the individual, the human being. And medicine, we often say, would say, well, don't treat the number, treat the patient. But really, we're not trained to treat the patient, as Dr. Rachel pointed out. We treat some disease label or some lab abnormality or some imaging abnormality, and oftentimes the patient, the concept of the patient is somewhere remote in our minds, but we're just focused on the test and the test results, but not really looking at causation. And so it's a huge refreshing conversation to look at your approach and how, yes, we look at a global approach and understand in the context of how the endocannabinoid system is at play from a physiological standpoint, and how it becomes imbalanced from a pathophysiological standpoint. And so this has been most enlightening, as usual. I thank you both for joining us tonight. And let's give the Dr. Knox a round of applause, a digital round of applause, as we sign out. And any final words? Any final words for our audience?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be able to reach out to all of you, because that's where it's going to start. It's going to start at the grassroots, our talking to each other, our talking to others, to make sure that we understand our health belongs to us.
Wonderful. Very well said. Dr. Rachel, any comments? Final words?
I agree. Other than visit these websites, there is absolutely a movement right now to make sure that we allow cannabis to do what it was put on this earth to do for us, not to exploit it to death through the monetary gain of a few. I mean, cannabis right now, and the moment right now is affording us to steward a massive paradigm shift in how we think about the total care of a person, not just the patient. Because a lot of our consumers out here don't even know that they're patients. They're just using cannabis. It makes them feel better for whatever reason, but they're patients too. So it's our responsibility to make sure that this cannabis industry serves us in all of the right ways. Yeah, you can recreate with the same product you medicate with. We don't see anything wrong with that. There is a purpose for even recreating with cannabis, but can we make sure that the cannabis that's out there is safe, is of a consistent quality? And yeah, if you care about these sorts of things, like I said, follow us, check out our website, follow us on social media, be in conversation with us, because the more people we have championing health equity in cannabis, the closer we're going to get to achieving it through cannabis. So the more the merrier.
Wonderful. Well said. Well said. Well, thank you both very much for, again, enlightening me and enlightening our audience. And I'll definitely be in touch with you, as I have been. And we are looking into growing our food and procuring things with some local growers. There are some restrictions in Texas, but I think there's some people that are doing some things with the hemp plant. And so I'll definitely be in touch to tap into your wisdom and insight and knowledge. So again, thank you very much. And Dr. Rachel, Dr. Janice, y'all have a good evening. Stay safe and keep up the great work. All right. Okay, as usual, we have another enlightening show. And of course, you know, as I said, I was a bobblehead tonight in total agreement with what was stated. And again, this is a very important topic. And what I want to reinforce what was stated is that it's really the treatment of the entire person, mental, spiritual, as well as physical. And as the Dr. Knox pointed out, it's an approach that they take, and really an approach that I take in medicine. And I use the food approach, which is very important. And so, again, you know, I want all of you to understand, you know, endocannabinoid medicine is one where very similar to any other form of functional medicine. When you want to call yourself a nutritional medicine doctor or a functional medicine doctor or holistic doctor, it looks at the person as a whole and try to adjust what's imbalanced and try to help the individual achieve balance, biochemical and physiological balance. And it's something that you as an individual can think of as well, because oftentimes the same thing that we may be asking questions about, if you have an ailment, you can also ask questions about it yourself. And oftentimes when I'm managing my patients, much of what I do is point out some imbalance in their lifestyle. And even when they've, you know, improved these overall ailments with the lifestyle improvement and they may regress, I just point out the fact that they've regressed in some lifestyle standpoint. So, you know, it really, this approach, a holistic approach, is one that clinicians like myself and the Knox can use to help empower you as well as help bring you into balance. So again, thank you very much for your support, and thanks for joining us tonight. And as usual, we hope you keep it fresh, natural, and live until we see you again.